Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. The Republican Party is making us less safe here in the United States. One organization has taken notice of the relentless defense of gun rights by the Republican Party that has stripped away nearly every single effective gun control law over the last few decades, turning America into a wild west of gun ownership. And that organization that has noticed is Al-Qaeda. That's right. In a recently released video, an Al-Qaeda spokesman encourages jihadis to purchase firearms at American gun shows and launch Mumbai-style attacks around the country. Quote, America is absolutely awash with easily obtainable firearms, says Al-Qaeda. You can go down to a gun show at the local convention center and come away with a fully automatic assault rifle without the background check and most likely without having to show an identification card. So what are you waiting for? End quote. AP reported that more than 200 suspected terrorists were able to buy guns with ease last year thanks to lax gun restrictions. So given how our nation has revamped nearly every aspect of our lives, from flying in airports to letting the government spy on us just to keep Americans safe from terrorists, Republicans will immediately close the gaping security loophole of the threat in the terrorist gun loophole, right? No. I'd guess no. That's because the gun lobby will see to it that enough of our lawmakers are bought off to ignore the threat, just like lobbyists like Michael Chertoff saw to it that enough lawmakers were scared silly to hand out millions in contracts to him for Chertoff X-ray porno scanners at our airports. It's not about security in America anymore. It's just about corporate profits. High gas prices ticking you off? Blame President Obama. So say the billionaire oil barons, the Koch brothers. Americans for Prosperity, the Koch brother AstroTurf front group, is set to kick off a nationwide blame game tour to tie President Obama's energy policies with surging gas prices and to call for increased domestic drilling, something that will also increase profits for the Koch brothers, who own the nation's largest privately owned oil company. Using television and radio advertisements, several political rallies, and a website, the Kochs will try to do what they do best, hide the truth and encourage people to vote against their best interests en masse. Because, as Think Progress reports, the real culprit behind high gas prices isn't President Obama's policies, but rampant oil speculated promoted by none other than the billionaire Koch brothers. That's right, not only did the Kochs create the first ever oil derivative back in the 1980s, but they've dumped huge amounts of money into deregulating Wall Street and passing legislation to let energy companies like their own and Enron mess around in the oil futures markets to jack up the prices of their oil to make huge profits at the expense of the rest of us. And now the Kochs are dispatching this bus tour to make sure they can keep getting away with it. In the best of the rest of the news, for more signs that we are in a Great Depression and not just a Great Recession, consider this fact. Today, over 6 million Americans, more than 45% of all the unemployed in our nation, have been out of work for more than 6 months, a higher percentage than during the Great Depression. Not to mention an unknown several million other people, the 99ers, who have been jobless so long they're not eligible to receive unemployment benefits anymore. There are two Americas today, one comprised of the working class that's in the grip of a second Republican Great Depression, and the other comprised of millionaires and billionaires who are unscathed thanks to the Wall Street bailout. And the news media, filled mostly with millionaires, doesn't want to discuss this reality. One mainstream Republican senator has been infected with the Tea Party's so-called fair tax virus. In a YouTube video to constituents, Republican Senator Dick Lugar advocated ditching the current tax system and replacing it with the so-called fair tax. Under the so-called fair tax, income taxes are replaced with a 23% sales tax on everything. Therefore, the more stuff you buy, the more taxes you pay. And as most economists point out, it's the most regressive tax system you can think of, shifting most of the burden of paying taxes onto the working class. In fact, every single person in America would pay higher taxes under the so-called fair tax, except for one distinguished group. Can you guess who they are? The millionaires and billionaires, of course. They would instead see a drastic reduction in their tax rates. So, of course, leave it to the Republican Party to rush out and embrace the idea. After almost 3 months since the cataclysmic Japanese earthquake, officials at the Fukushima nuclear plant are admitting what most nuclear experts already knew. The plant suffered 3 full nuclear meltdowns within days of the quake and tsunami. Officials have also upwardly revised the nuclear fallout measurements around the plant, a sign that radiation exposure in nearby areas was much higher than initially reported. Now that we know earthquakes can knock out power plants, maybe it's time we should look into shutting down the numerous nuclear plants we have in the U.S. sitting atop volatile fault lines like ticking time bombs. We can finally close the book on Wienergate now. Yesterday, New York Congressman Anthony Weiner admitted to sending lewd photos on his Twitter account. Weiner said he was ashamed and embarrassed, but is not resigning. Looks like the big winner in this carnival is right-wing hack Andrew Breitbart, who took a victory lap yesterday by hijacking Congressman Weiner's press conference. Right-wing commentators, of course, were silent when David Vitter was busted with prostitutes, but are loudly calling for Weiner to resign. Get over it. He had never met any of these women. If David Vitter can get reelected, so can Anthony Weiner. Beware of the left-wing Sesame Street conspiracy. As a recent segment on the Sean Hannity Show highlighted, Sesame Street is a liberal propaganda outlet. That's right. Move over NPR. Right-wing lawyer Ben Shapiro is hyping up a new book accusing Sesame Street of being geared mainly toward educating Black and Hispanic youth, as well as promoting gender-neutral identities and encouraging homosexuality. I always knew something was up with Bert and Ernie. And that's the way it is today, Tuesday, June 7th, 2011. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.